Big, beautiful bill. Will it be a beautiful cross to the finish line here? There's a lot of pressure on House Speaker Mike Johnson and the Republican leaders to see if they can deliver the votes needed to pass it. There are concerns coming in from some in the GOP about the Senate's changes to the package. They're working through some of those challenges right now on the floor, but we know the House Freedom Caucus is circulating a memo with some of their thoughts on why they do not want to pass this. Kelly Dugard is on the ground. She is talking to all of the lawmakers here as we are looking for the latest information and possibly passage. Jason Smith standing by with her right now. Kelly, take it away.
That's right, Bianca. Great to be with you. And of course, I'm pleased to welcome in the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Jason Smith, who has thrown his entire support behind this legislation. So much so, Bianca, that he messaged the president earlier today with this message. He says, we're going to get the one big beautiful passed and to your desk. This will be for the people who don't have lobbyists in this town, the farmers, the welders, the waitresses. And of course, then he goes on to thank the president for his vision, leadership, and determination. You're my favorite president. Let's get this done. Chairman Smith, this is hilarious. I mean, did you think that the president was going to share your message? And obviously, I know he shares your enthusiasm for what this bill will do for the American people.
You know, I'll say the president's the most engaging executive I've ever worked with, from any president or governor. And I've been in constant communication with him for the last several months on tax and trade things that's within our will space. And this morning, I just wanted to send him encouragement that today was going to be a big day and what was going to happen. And it was great to see it on Truth Social.
We are, we share your level of optimism, but obviously there is a lot of members right now who are saying that the Senate changes have been too much for them. They can't support this legislation. We're about ready to have this procedural vote on the House floor. Chairman Smith, we're hearing that this may not be successful. If that happens, where does it go from here?
First off, failure's not an option. We will be successful. We will pass this bill and put it on the president's desk by July 4th so that he can sign that for the American people. When you look at the tax items within this piece of legislation, there's 103 different tax provisions. Of those 103, 85%, actually more than 85%, are identical or just technical changes to make the parliamentarian okay. So the tax portion is virtually the House bill. Yeah. And this is something that 215 members voted on. What I would encourage to my colleagues is don't allow perfection get in the way of greatness. This is a great bill. Let's bank the win, put it on the shelf, and then start another day with some other items.
What is at stake, Chairman, if this legislation does not pass?
If this legislation does not pass, we will have zero in spending cuts. This bill has the largest amount of mandatory spending cuts in the history of America. If this bill does not pass, every single American will face a tax increase of 21% because of all the expiring provisions of TCJA. There will be no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax relief for seniors, no tax deduction for autos made in the United States, numerous items. It also, if this does not pass, we will not see the most significant welfare reforms in our lifetime. So there's a lot of good to this bill, and it needs to be delivered for the American people. It is what the president campaigned on and 77 million Americans voted for.
What do you think are the conversations happening right now between the president and some of the members that have concerns about this legislation adding to the deficit? Are these last-minute negotiations? Are there backdoor deals happening? What does it take to get the rest of the conference on board?
I push aggressively back. I don't believe this bill adds to the deficit. I know the Congressional Budget Office scores that it's going to add $3.3 trillion, but they are projecting a growth rate of 1.8%. Over the last 50 years, our growth rate has averaged right at 2.7, 2.8%. If we have a 3% growth rate, which I have no doubt that we will with passage of this bill, we will actually be reducing the deficit by over $500 billion. So I believe this does not add to the deficit, but in fact it reduces the deficit by more than $500 billion.
We have heard from Democrats on the other side of the aisle that they're going to hurl every procedural motion possible to stall this legislation. Talk to me about what we're seeing on the other side of the aisle.
The Democrats throughout the whole process has been showing obstruction. Whether it was over in the Senate, requesting for the entire bill to be read to take 16 hours. And guess what? None of them bothered to show up in that chamber. They offered more amendments than any other vote-a-rama in the history of America to try to obstruct. And then we're seeing on the House floor the gongo lines that they're doing. This is all about making sure we're not able to deliver tax relief for working families, small business, and farmers. They should be ashamed of themselves. When they have challenged items of this bill over in the Senate with the Senate parliamentarian, what they were advocating for is making sure benefits go to illegal immigrants and not working families. That has not been their focus. It's really, really crazy to think that their priority has been with illegal immigrants rather than U.S. citizens.
Chairman Smith, we really appreciate your time. And of course, we're going to continue to monitor, Bianca, the House floor closely, where they're beginning, of course, to work on that procedural motion that will pave the way eventually for final passage. Back to you.
Well, a big thanks to you, Kelman, and a thank you to Chairman Smith there for talking about some of the benefits and what is actually in the bill. Thank you for his time as well. We'll be checking back in with